Oh, this is smart idea.
I was surprised to see that. That's a high-speed rail. Okay.
Okay, everybody ready? Please, we'll call this meeting in order. The Newman City Council Redevelopment Agency regular meeting of February 9, 2010. Please stand and join me for the pledge. Ready to begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Councilman Kelly.
Lord, give us the wisdom and the knowledge tonight to make some good decisions for the people of Newman. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Kelly.
Present.
Davis.
Present.
Candia.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
Present.
Mayor Kate.
Present. Declaration of conflicts of interest. Seeing none, we'll move to item 6, ceremonial matters, and I believe we have one tonight. Garner Reynolds, please step up. Recognition of one of our employees.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Tonight I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize one of our outstanding employees, Carlos Cantu. He's been a member of our Public Works Department for approximately 2.5 years as a maintenance worker in the Water Department, and prior to that he worked about a year as a part-time employee. Carlos demonstrates the types of behaviors and the work attitude of an exemplary employee in the Public Works Department, and at this time we'd like to recognize him for he passed his grade 1 water treatment exam with the California Department of Public Health, and the city is required to maintain at least one person that has that certification. I have it myself. Now Carlos has taken that. He's taken on a more active role as a leader and demonstrating the types of behaviors that is of an exemplary employee. So at this time I'd like to thank Carlos. We have framed his certificate as a T1 grade 1 operator for the city, and thank him for his hard work and dedication. In addition to that, we have a certificate of appreciation for all of the work that he does for us. So, thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you. Good job.
Good job, buddy. Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. All right, we'll move on to items from the public, non-agenda items. Any member of the public wish to address the council this evening, please step forward. Cell phones off. Everyone want to take a minute? All right. We'll move on to item 8, the consent calendar. A is waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. B, approval of the warrants. C, approval of the minutes of January 26, 2010 regular meeting. And D is adopt resolution number 2010 next to number, a resolution approving subdivision improvements in the Monte Vista Estates Division and authorizing Ed Caton as mayor and Michael E. Holland as city clerk to record a notice of completion. E is adopt resolution number 2010 next to number, a resolution approving Pioneer Park Rehabilitation Project Phase 2 and authorizing Ed Caton as mayor and Michael E. Holland as city clerk to record a notice of completion.
I so move for approval of consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Thank you. I'll go to item 9, public hearings. First one is A, adopt resolution number 2010 next to number, resolution of the City Council of the City of Newman, California, declaring the results of a notice protest proceeding and approving certain actions for rates, fees, and charges for solid waste collection, curbside recycling, and street sweeping services. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor and Honorable Council. Tonight we have before us is a public hearing, and it's to consider a Prop 218 vote for solid waste, recycling, and street sweeping services. Currently, our solid waste provider is Burt Lottie Disposal Incorporated, and they are currently operating under a 2002 contract, and that contract is now getting ready to expire. with that, we are also, at our next meeting, we will be bringing a new contract before you, but we wanted to get through this process first. As part of that, these fees that Bertolotti charges for and we pass on to our residents have not changed since 1998. Currently it's $16.33 for your recycling and your solid waste pickup. So Bertolotti and they've come back and together with staff, we looked at what the rates would be as if you just entered them and by increasing it through the CPI, Consumer Price Index, and what those rates would be forward. If you go all the way back to 1998, the current rate in 2008 would be $21.11. With that, though, I had discussions with Bertolotti and indicated that would be too big a jump at this point in time. Why don't we look at moving it forward and going to 2000, giving the residents here a 3-year window of not raising your fees, and then using CPI moving forward from there. Again, if you went all the way back to 1998, they would have been proposing a 29% increase. At this point, it'd be 19%, and what that comes to is a $3.13 raise for the service fees. So at this point in time, we're doing what we're proposing is a $19.46 per month rate for the 90-gallon fee. The 60-gallon rate, which most people do know that you can have a 60-gallon. That's generally for our most seasoned citizens. People who have only 1 or 2 people in the household tend to take the smaller unit. Currently, that service costs $11.15. It would be a $2.14 increase to $13.29. And then all the rest are moved accordingly. So with that, at this point in time, we're recommending that the council hold a public hearing. And while the city has consulted with our city attorney, we are not required to have a Prop 218 vote as part of this because it's a contract service. We elected to go through that process anyways. Every single user in our community got a public notice about this hearing tonight. That was mailed back in November because state law under Prop 218 implementation process requires a 45-day notice. So we provided that notice not only written to every single utility user, we also published it in the papers. To date, we have received 4 written protests. So again, as part of the Prop 218 process, which we're recommending the council as it goes forward in full disclosure and transparency, we're recommending you hold a public hearing tonight and accept oral and written protest. Just for anybody here, though, we have forms here. If anybody wants to protest, it has to be in writing under Prop 218. We just have a simple form that you can fill out. Following that, we ask that the council declare the results of the notice protest and proceedings and then take action on the rate, fees, and charges for solid waste collection and curbside recycling service. Also, currently, one thing that I think that the council also, and I forgot to mention in my report, was through this, because of the amount of dust and dirt and debris that could fall from the trucks, we've gotten Bertolotti to pay us a street sweeping fee. Currently, we're only sweeping our streets 1 time a month. This would allow us to go to 2 times a month. So this $3 increase also allows for an additional weekly service. So we'll go twice monthly, bi-weekly on that. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Before we open up public hearings, are there any questions of Michael?
Mike, I was just wondering, how does it, well, first of all, what's a seasoned?
Seasoned?
Is that a new term
What's the magical
for
number?
us seniors or what? Yeah, I
Or
know.
more seasoned.
I heard a couple of laughs in there. I said, seasoned. I went, what did he say? But no, how are we doing? And to me, it's the cheapest I've ever had in all the homes that I've owned. And I'm just wondering, how's it
It would bring
in
us
contrast to?
it would bring us up to It would bring the rates consistent with Berlotti's other contracts in other cities, Ceres, Modesto, and the county proper. We'd be a few cents lower than most of those.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, Michael?
No question.
Okay, seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anybody wish to address the council regarding this issue?
My name is Kent Madenwald, and I live at 612 Waxwing Lane. I got this notice in November and have kept it because, having lived in many, many different towns in the United States, I have never seen a collection company as efficient and good as Bertolotti. They do an excellent job. When they spill something, they've done it on our street, they get out, they get a broom and a shovel, and they put it right back into the truck. And so I'm here to be on the positive side for this rate increase because, as it says in the notice, their dump rates at the landfill have gone up, their gas has gone up, their salaries have gone up, and so that raise over the period of time since they've done it is almost minuscule. So I do agree with the propositions given.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody else wish to address the council? Thought maybe you might get up and throw daggers at us or something.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's nobody else wish to address the council, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for direction.
What do we have to do this time? Just
There-
declare? Just we adopt,
Yeah,
adopt the res.
resolution.
Okay, to notice a protest and approving certain actions. Let's see, where is it?
There's a resolution in the back of your report there, Council.
In the very back.
Guys, I'm in the wrong thing here. Well, just I'll read off here. Adopt the resolution, the city declaring the results of a notice protest proceeding and approving certain actions for rates, fees, and charges for solid waste collection, curbside recycling, and street sweeping services.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. I'll move to the second public hearing. Is second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2010, next to number, ordinance amending titles 5 zoning and 8 health and sanitation, adding chapter 5.23.160 residential resale inspection program. Stephanie?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you tonight is the second reading of the proposed ordinance amending Titles 5 and 8. As we discussed at the previous meeting, this ordinance will create the residential resale inspection program. This program will serve as a valuable tool for potential buyers of residential properties within the city limits. This program will provide valuable information for sellers and buyers alike about any particular aspects that require permits, any potential violations, things of that nature. Staff recommends that the council approve ordinance 2010 next to number, amending titles 5 and 8. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Before we open up public hearing, anybody wish to ask Stephanie any questions?
I really don't have one for Stephanie. This one's probably more directed at Tom. Tom, I've been thinking about this ever since we talked about it a couple weeks ago. What is the city exposure on this?
We always, I mean, it's always there. I can't really quantify it. I think it's one of those ones where you have to weigh the benefit versus that potential
Right.
downside, which you really can't, you just can't quantify it. I could give you my policy, I don't want to give you my policy call on that, but legally, it's really hard to quantify, but it's there. I don't, right, it's hard to
So
give
there
it
is
any other legal opinion without getting into policy.
Right, so there is an exposure to the city, we just don't know what it is, what it could be. Okay.
I think, if I may, council members, one of the things as this moves forward is we're just providing information that's public information all on one document and trying to make any buyer as informed as they can going into into the purchase of a property. So from that point, we do our best in due diligence in providing that information. We'll check the zoning map, we check our records. I know there are certain provisions within the state code that allow us, as long as it's not a deliberate act, we're covered. So, we're going to do all of our due diligence and try to provide, the idea is to make the buyer as informed as possible. So I think our risk is limited from that perspective, as long as it's not a deliberate act, Tom.
Yeah, I just say that perfection's not required, especially, and we have certain immunities under the government code, and as long as it's not a gross negligent error, finding any liability, they could find us liable, but it would not a judgment against us.
And Tom, what I'm hearing there is just if somebody mistypes something
Exactly,
like
yeah.
that, if there's in the report, that type
Clerical
of thing.
errors.
Nick, is this what you're trying to?
Well, I just want to make sure that if the inspector misses something,
Mm-hmm.
what exposure is the city going to have? That's my only concern.
That's the one that's harder to quantify.
I
But
know,
again,
you can't,
perfection's really not required.
Yeah, yeah.
I really can't give you a.
But right now, if they have some code violation, a Newman code violation, they don't have to disclose that, do they?
I don't know.
Well, they change those disclosure forms every year, and it seems to me to include darn near everything. But
Huh?
that would still,
Yeah.
with joint and several liability, we could still be liable theoretically.
The listing broker's list is issuing their license. Their license is at stake if they don't disclose something they know.
Okay. Then do we need this?
I
If
don't think so.
If I may, when I had the meeting with the local realtors, they made it very clear to me that they are not required to look up public records for listings that they are listing for sale. This would ensure that those records are in fact brought to the potential buyer's attention, which is like a safety net for the potential buyer of any violations that may be on the property.
They're not required to go look up records, but they are required to look at the property, and they're supposed to know what is and isn't legal in town.
There are quite a number of great realtors out here that do their due diligence, that call the building department, ask, but unfortunately there's also quite a number that don't. And I think that this will help alleviate the issues caused by that population. It'll make sure that buyers know what they're getting into.
A simple thing like a shed near, within 4 feet instead of 5 feet of the fence and things, that's not going to hold, and it says in here, if I recall, it's not going to hold the sale up.
We cannot prohibit the sale from going
Right,
through.
because of this information. But it's just added information for the buyer. It's protecting the buyer even more, in my own opinion. Okay. Thanks, Steph.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, we'll open up the public hearing. Any member of the public wish to address the council regarding this issue? If nobody's run up there, we'll close public hearing and bring back to council for direction. Somebody?
Nick?
Ted?
I'm hard time talking. I make a motion that we adopt the report on proposed ordinance amending Titles 5 and 8 of the Newman Municipal Code.
I'll second it.
The motion and a second, all in favor? Opposed?
No.
4 ayes and 1 no. Duly noted. Okay, motion passes. Go to item 10, regular business. A, adopt resolution number 2010, next to number, approving the City of Newman's application for statewide park program grant funds.
Good evening again. Before you is a resolution approving the city's application for the State Park Program grant funds. These funds were made available by Proposition 84, approved by the voters in 2006. The intent of the funds are to enhance and create recreational facilities throughout the state. The city's planned aquatic center is consistent with the grant's intent, and city staff has been working on the grant application since late 2009. The city will be requesting the maximum amount allowed in the grant, which is $5 million. This grant does not require a match. This is a very good grant. The grant will have a minimum of 2 rounds, and if we do not receive funding from the first round, we are eligible to reapply for the second round. The application submittal deadline is March 1st, and in order to apply, we need to have the above-mentioned resolution approved by council. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Stephanie? The $5 million is a potential grant award?
Yes, that is, we can potentially get $5 million.
No required match?
No match.
Wow.
Thank you, voters in 2006.
Yeah. Okay, council direction?
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2010 approving the city of Newman's application for statewide park program grant funds.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you.
Go get it, kid.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Good job.
B, report on Newman Historical Society's request, and I think everybody's got a copy of the request by the Historical Society President, Mary Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, attached to your memo report there is a copy of a request from the Newman Historical Society. They're looking at, and what they are requesting is upon in an attempt in their cleaning up the back of the property, which is directly across the street at the museum there, they have found and are willing to rehabilitate the original outhouse that goes with the Newman preschool, which is adjacent to the library right now. My understanding is that they would like to clean and repaint that, and then they want to move it over there and then clean it and replace it and part over there. And they think it's historically it should go there because again it's compatible and it's the original house there. Now, as staff, we do have some concerns as part of that, and some of those concerns, and I'll address those now, is for a number of years, those that have been on the council know that we've in the past have had porta potties located in that area because there's not a restroom at the park facilities. They have been torched a number of times, so much so that the two companies that we use will no longer provide those facilities out there at that location because they've been put into fire. We have received complaints from staffing at the county library branch there about people urinating in public and near their buildings, and the stench is pretty bad over there. We have concerns about the long-term maintenance of it once it's placed there. You know, who becomes responsible for maintaining it? What if it gets vandalized? Who's going to do that? Because it is a preschool, there's safety issues. Is it going to be locked up? These are a lot of the questions that we don't have, and maybe the historical societies here that can address some of these. You know, it is a preschool. There are young kids there. You know, is it going to be secured? Is it not going to open? Is it going to open? Those types of questions that go along with that. As I mentioned earlier, there is the potential for vandalism that's going to potentially occur with that, and who's going to take care of those. Those are mainly our concerns with putting it there. And again, it's operating as a preschool, and we understand the historical significance of it, trying to be attached to it, but it's a preschool in an appropriate place. Now, if it was somewhere else, if it was not a preschool, maybe that would be more appropriate. I don't know, but we just have some concerns with its current use and the long-term operations and maintenance of it. So at this point, we're turning it over to the council for some guidance.
Mary, would you like to address the council?
Mary Moore, President of the Newman Historical Society, Mayor and City Council people. We, as a group, seasoned group, know that our time is getting short. We're not going to be able to do the things that we want to do in a few years. Most of us are getting older. And we would like to clean up the back behind the museum. We have gotten rid of some of the equipment. We have not given it sold it or given it away. A donation was made for it, and it will be put to use in a good spot. And we thought that if we could get the area over there at the schoolhouse is fenced in. Mr. Perry takes care of this because it doesn't get mowed. There is an air conditioning unit around there that the grass grows real tall. So Mr. Perry takes care of it. He would take care, and we could lock up the doors of the outhouse if that need be. And the kids are not allowed to get in that area at all. It's not open. It is behind a fenced place. And we were just hoping to get the two together. They were a match, and we thought that they belonged together. Any questions?
Any questions of Mary?
Yeah, Mary, this would not be a working outhouse.
No. If you would like to use it, we could open it up.
No. Well, maybe sometime.
No, it would be, if need be, we could lock up the gates, and the doors on it, and that would be sufficient to us. We would just like it with the schoolhouse. It was built with the school, kept with the school, and when it moved up to the hills, it went with it. So we would like to have it together.
I would think that those doors would have to be permanently secured.
Yeah.
Obviously. Any other questions, Mayor or Michael? Any concerns the city has proposed?
All I can say is, I know the good people that on the Historical Society, and I don't know of anything they've ever done that it hasn't been with class, and I can't even imagine them putting something out there not looking good. So, and I know that what Victor would take care of that, and I'm saying, if it got to a point where we had a problem, a nuisance or anything else, it could be removed.
Right.
So I'm certainly not opposed.
Well, it could be painted as same as the school. It is painted the same as the school, and we could paint it before we put it over there.
It's going to be secured within the fenced area of the school.
Yeah, there's a fenced-in area on the south side, right behind that brick that we put, the brick wall, and it would fit in there. Milo Meza said that he could move it in there for us with no problem, and so we would like to take this time to ask you to please vote yes on this.
Okay. Any other questions of staff and or Mary? Okay. I'll bring back to council for direction.
I so move that we approve the request by the Historical Society to move the outhouse to the area located close to the preschool facility.
I second it.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mary, now, just so I'm clear, you guys, there you are. I'm sorry. You haven't had any issues with vandalism at the school?
Not that I know of.
No,
Janet
we've
Perry.
never had any.
Okay.
In fact, we're talking about getting blinds because people can look in now. And my daughter now has graduated from college and goes home, and she sees the schoolhouse. She says, Mom, you need blinds so no one can look in. Because it can't happen. No, we've never had a bit of trouble.
Okay.
No one's ever tried to break it.
The only time was at the beginning when the soccer team was playing over there. They were kicking it up against the fence. The fence was just put in. They were kicking it through the fence, over the fence, and when they got there, they let their kids run wild. I mean, they were tearing up the fence at the time and playing in the sandboxes and doing things like that. But since then, I don't think they've had any problem.
Once in a while, a soccer ball will
And
go into the property, go into the preschool.
Mr. Perry, since he's retired now, he fixes it.
Okay, so
They
is
open up a section,
Yes.
because it's real easy to get in that fence
Fence area.
that was built and was approved. And there's sections there. All they do is just,
They take us,
you put their knee to it and get the ball, but that's all they're doing.
yeah. We've never had a bit of trouble. We have a shed which FFA built, my daughter's senior year in high school, never have even broken into that. And we've never had any, and I'll be 40 years in September.
okay.
We've never had,
You didn't have to state your age.
huh?
You didn't have to state your age.
I don't know, I'll give you up
Thanks,
age.
Jen. You had both of my kids.
I know I did.
They're 31 and
I'm
28.
now beginning on grandchildren.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, we'll move to item C, is adoption of resolution number 2010, next to number, resolution authorizing the chief of police to enter into a franchise tow agreement with Newman City Tow pursuant to police towing services ordinance. Councilman Cordea is going to step down for this item due to a possible conflict of interest.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. You've heard a lot about this over the last month. This will be the final act, we hope. This is the actual authorization from you to, the ordinance is passed. You did that last meeting. And will take effect 20-something of February, I don't recall, 30 days after our last meeting. This is the final, this is to actually enter into the contract that will bound Newman City to provide all of the items that we had previously discussed in the last two meetings. So this would be just your authorization for me to proceed forward with them. They were the only company, as we suspected, that met the application and ordinance requirements. Two companies did submit, the other being McCauley, but as you know, did not meet. And it wasn't just the, for point of information, it wasn't just the yard in town. There was other areas that they were insufficient in as well.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Is there any questions of the Chief before we get council direction? With that, bring it back to council for some direction.
Make a motion, we adopt the resolution to enter into a franchise tow agreement pursuant to Newman City Ordinance Title 9, Chapter 9.16, Police Towing Services.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Wait for Councilman Candia to come back up. And we'll go to item D, review of the 2009-2010 annual budget at mid-year. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Today I have before you the mid-year budget, and I wish I could bring forth better information. Things are not going well for us in terms of revenues, so I'm going to kind of walk you through where we're at and where we're estimated to be at the end of this year. At this point in time, it's real difficult to tell you exactly where we're at, because at this point we've only collected 28% of our revenues, but we've already used 45% of our expenditures. And part of that is because of the way the state doles out their sales tax revenue and how they provide that to us, as well as county property tax come in 2 installments. So you don't equally get 1/12 of your installment every single month. It's on the state holds on to the money as long as possible. If they could pay you for the whole year on June 30th, the last day of the fiscal year, they would. But there are some statutory requirements that make it allow or require them to pay us earlier. So, but using where we're at in terms of revenues and looking at some patterns that we've been able to establish with quarterly sales tax revenues and projections and things that are going on, we've had to make some adjustments to our projected revenues. Right now, as of our last quarter, our sales tax revenue, unfortunately, was the lowest per capita sales tax revenue in the county. We dropped 60% in one quarter, which is pretty devastating to us. A lot of that can be attributable to, earlier the loss of the dealerships and the Brashears contract. I think overall just the economy is just that bad right now. So we're struggling there. So with that, we had to decrease our projected revenues from sales tax by 34% this year. So we're projecting to go from where we thought we were in the 430, 450 range to the 300 range. 300,000. That's a $150,000 drop. That's a very significant amount of money, especially in a community our size and a total we're just over $3 million budget. It's a very big hit to us. In addition to that, when we started the budget process, we were getting 1.6% interest on our investments. Now we get 0.57. So there's another significant, that's in the tune of about $30,000 to $40,000 a year. So just those two things alone have increased our projected deficit this year by almost $200,000, and that's very significant for our community and for our budget. The good thing is that this council has been very conservative fiscally over the past couple of years, and we're able to weather this storm right now. So I'm gonna, with that, there are some things that, good news that have come along throughout the year. We received a $400,000 loan for the Plaza project for our redevelopment agency. We were able to receive $2.2 million in grants for our Plaza project that's going to be starting or going out to bid within the next 30 days or so. We originally got an iBank loan. I think we recall going through that process for the wastewater treatment plant. But as of last week and after this report was written, and Tom's looking at the paperwork right now, we have requested that loan be canceled. And this is kind of why. We requested $3.1 million because that was the original estimate for that project. Well, we ended up getting the project done for between $800,000 and $900,000. It's a big difference. If we would have known it was going to be that amount, we wouldn't have got a loan from the iBank. We would have just took care of it ourselves through our enterprise funds. What was more disturbing, though, was our first installment or payment was due on February 1st. It was an interest-only payment, and it was $81,000. About a week before that was due, the state, because they've been holding our money for us, and they're required any interest earned to give it to us, they sent us an interest payment for $700. They were charging us $81,000 in interest payments, and they were paying us $700 in interest earned. So we thought that was pretty sad. So it really made us start thinking about whether this was in the best interest of our residents or not. So we contacted the state and their attorneys and have requested that we cancel that loan document. And I know Tom's looking through the contract right now, and I believe we're going to be able to do that, cancel that loan without any cost incurred by the community. So it's basically, they were going to give us a loan. They've now, since we've already paid for the project anyways, they were only going to reimburse us. And it is an enterprise fund, not a general fund expense. We just decided it's probably in the best interest of our residents just to pay that off and not have them pay any interest payments on that. So we're moving forward with that right now, and that's going to save our residents probably at least $80,000 for their sewer fund right now. So that's not a general fund expense. We have another good thing that occurred this year. As you know, we were able to secure a COPS grant, and that pays for our downtown officer right now 100% across the fund. But there is an increase in expenditures that's supplemented with an increase in revenues there. We were able to get a Safe Routes to School grant, $225,000, so that helps us out as well. On the smaller side, one of the costs that we didn't anticipate was, as the budget was put together, there was a calculation error in the PERS requirement, so that's going to cost us a few $1,000s that we were not anticipating. So when you add all these up, if you look in our conclusion there, originally we had estimated a budget deficit of about $80,000 to $85,000. That estimated budget deficit now for our general fund is $309,000. And a lot of that, I would say 90% of that is due to lower revenues than anticipated. It's not an expenditure issue, it's a revenue issue. And so we're not real sure how we're going to do, how this thing's going to play out in the future. As your city manager now and working with all of our department heads, every single expenditure now has to come across through the department heads and through the city manager, and it has to be a need, not a want. We are at that point in our budget that we just really need to, every single expenditure is look at it, whether it's $100, they all add up. There's no way for us to make up a $300,000 deficit, except for hundreds, 500s, and $1,000 or $2,000 at a time. That's just where it's at. Now, with that being said, and I'm showing you a $309,000 budget deficit, there is some good side to that. We think that we should be able to lower that in the range of about $200,000 is our goal. And we can do that through, as you know, we have CDBG grant monies. We have some home grant monies. A lot of these programs allow for administrative cost. So through Stephanie's time, Garner's time, our Public Works Director, and myself's time, then we put into these projects. We get paid back for those. So we think there's going to be probably $25,000 to $30,000 in there that we can bring back. I'm trying to think of what the other ones were. We've reduced some other savings in terms of staffing levels, change of contracts, and those types of things that we think is going to save us another $20,000 or $30,000. And then through watching our expenditures, we think we're going to get another $20,000 to $30,000 out of that. So we really, it'll be our goal is to get this down into the 200 range. I know that's still a big number, and we've hopefully prepared the council, over the last year when we really talked about this economic crisis that's occurring not only in our community but in all communities, about how we're going to have to probably dip into our reserves. Another good thing to back up is when we start our budget process, we start with what we consider to be our estimated general fund balance. But since then, we've now had an audited report, and our general fund had an extra $60,000 in it that we were not anticipated. And that was because we stopped, we're watching our expenditures as we ended the year as well. So with that, with the $60,000 extra that we have in there and our ability to reduce, we're hoping, the net balance would be about $150,000 budget deficit this year. But that is up from $80,000. Now, I do have a couple of things that we should probably talk about. One, I talked about earlier, we'll be watching all of our purchases. In our Public Works Department, and what you notice with a lot of our employees right now, they're allocated to different funds. And in government, we had fund accounting, meaning we have enterprise funds, water fund, and they can only be used for water. Sewer fund, that can only be used for sewer. Well, a lot of our public works people work in multiple funds, so across the board. So we're going to closely watch what it is they're doing on a weekly basis, and then try to tie that off and really accurately reflect where their work is. And a lot of that will be outside of the general fund, so we think there could be a savings, in the ballpark of about $10,000 there. So there's another savings there, and we'll look at all of our employees to making sure that we're charging their time appropriately. And we did this exercise last year, and we've done it on a global scale, but now we're going to kind of do it more on a weekly, monthly scale, and just to, again, accurately reflect where we are so we can protect our general funds as best we can. And then lastly, and this is a question for the council. Some of you may know, but one of our officers, Officer Flores, has left our police department and has moved on to Modesto Police Department, which leaves a open position within the police department. Now, there's a possibility, and I'm going to leave it up to you, and I want your direction on this. If you hold that position through the rest of this fiscal year, you're going to save probably $35,000. The caveat is you're going to lose your downtown officer. That downtown officer will then have to go and take Officer Flores' spot on the shift duty. And we have two crews. He'll have to take that. We won't have a dedicated downtown officer. So I know that has been a very successful position for our community, and it's a very difficult position. There are cost savings that go along with that, so I'm here to seek your direction on that. Should you elect to go forward, we have a very qualified applicant that we know would be willing to come to the city of Newman and take that spot. But that, again, is going to be left up to you and what you would like to do with that position right now. So with that kind of concludes my report. I know the chief is here, and he'd be more than willing to advocate for his position. But I think you know that, even in my position, being as fiscally conservative I am, I've always been a strong supporter of public safety, and everybody likes that downtown officer. It's been a big hit. We've moved forward as a department. Even with the cost saving, we have to understand that, that is a step backwards if we don't fill that spot. So, but it's a budgetary decision that lays in the hands of this council. So, with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Questions of Michael?
Mike, I'm just not confused. Yes, I am confused. So if we reinstate that position, what's that going to cost us? That's coming out of general fund then?
Yeah, you will. If you reinstate that position, you will not realize the savings of about $35,000 to $40,000.
So for $40,000, we'd have an officer downtown for.
That's correct. And then you would start the next year with the projected deficit of $300,000 that we have to start working down.
Down, yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, I would like to say I'm opposed to going backwards, and I think the city of Newman has enjoyed some great police officers, a great chief, and we've enjoyed a safe city, and I certainly don't want to lose that, and I'm opposed to losing an officer.
Nick?
I'd have to say I'm opposed to also. I won't sacrifice public safety.
Roberta?
I would like to know how much he actually, how effective he is, how many people he arrests, what he actually stops downtown.
I don't think you can put a number on what he probably puts a stop to just by mere presence. I personally have seen him in action several times, and I don't know what the numbers are, and quite frankly, just the mere presence in the downtown area from where we were 6 months ago to where we are today is night and day. Night and day. There wasn't a day go by that I wasn't cornered by a merchant downtown or several other business owners and people that were complaining about the loitering, complaining about, not being able to walk down the street without being harassed by kids and stuff. So I just have to, unless the chief can provide you with that information, I don't know he has it at hand tonight. I'm sure he could certainly provide us with numbers. We get a report in our packet that has the arrests and cites and things like that. I don't know if it's broke down by that particular officer that I can see, but I don't know that I'd be interested in getting into a numbers game, what that officer does versus one of the other patrol officers. I think his impact is significant, but you're certainly entitled to get that information from the chief if he can make it available to you. And I don't know if that's something that you need before you make a decision.
I'm curious. I've seen him downtown, and I think it's probably good. But I'm wondering, in today's economy, do we need him? Is that effective?
Well, again, I have to agree with the other members of council. I don't want to digress. And quite interesting, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to speak with Officer Board or not. He comes to all the chamber mixers. He's always there, mixing with the public, the merchants, and I don't know that there'd be too many merchants out there that would say, yeah, let's, for the sake of $40,000, we need to do away with that person. I'm not in favor of throwing away money, obviously, but $40,000 for I think what that position has meant to our downtown area is, again, I think it's significant. So I guess it's where you put your belief on whether or not we need to spend. I personally, yeah, I think it's made tremendous strides in there. I like having him there because he's not out in a patrol car. He's either on foot or on his bicycle.
It's highly visible.
And he's highly visible, and that's half the battle. So, but again, if you want that information, I'm sure Chief McGill can probably get that to you. So, with that, I think Michael needs some direction. You've seen the numbers; it's not pretty, you know, and I think we've all known that. It's no secret. You know, there's talk of maybe we're coming out of the recession. I still think next 2 or 3 years are critical, and we had a secret. But I agree with Bob. I just don't want to sacrifice public safety, and I think all of us, and I know I did as I walked the streets, as well as Councilman Kelly, public safety was a primary issue for all of us. So I'm not willing to sacrifice it. I think we bite the bullet and we continue just to watch our dollars and cents and spend wisely, and we're going to come out of it, but I just don't want to sacrifice a police officer. So, Michael, so do you need, I guess from the council, let's keep that position.
Yeah,
and
can we just do it maybe a simple vote? Just
Sure.
I mean, just a minute order, just so we can get it on the record that
Sure.
that's kind of what the direction is. So.
Okay. You've seen the numbers on the city manager's report, and he's alluded to the fact that we've lost a police officer. If we don't replace him, we're going to realize about $40,000 in saving. However, if we fill that position, we're gonna eat that amount of money, but it's money I think well worth sacrificing for. So with that, we need a motion.
Mayor, if I may, just we either a recommendation of approval of the budget adjustments with the inclusion or the exclusion of the police officer would be sufficient.
Okay. Attorney says that would work.
Sure. Oh, wonderful.
Okay. Again, council direction.
You can just say as Mike, city
Yeah,
manager.
whatever
say-
Mike said.
Yeah, I said, but there was inclusion and exclusion, so I think you need to either make your motion to approve the budget adjustments with either the inclusion or exclusion of the
Okay,
police
well,
officer.
I'll make a motion that we approve the budget adjustments with the inclusion of the police officer.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Carry on. Okay. We'll move to item 11, item from District 5 Supervisor Jim DeMartini.
Good evening, Mayor Keaton, council members. I don't think there's a city in this valley that's not having budget problems right now. I think everybody's revenues are falling short of their expenses. I know we had a meeting with our staff the last week, and we have to cut $23 million out of our budget, so I'm not sure where it's going to come from. So all these decisions can be pretty painful. Anyway, I just have very little tonight. I would like to announce the Healthy Choices Business Roundtable will be on February 18th at the Villa del Lago in Patterson. As you know, we've included education, business, and government in the healthcare task force, and this is the first event that the business community has had. They're paying for it all themselves. It's a breakfast that starts at 7:30 in the morning. As for businesses, you know, they have they really vested interest in a healthy workforce. So they've taken a real leadership role in the healthcare task force, and the Keystone Business Park is the one that's paying for this, and they've been a really good member. It's free to the public if anybody'd like to come. February 18th. At the Villa del Lago, 7:30 in the morning, includes breakfast and a few speakers about healthy choices, lifestyle, and something that's specific to our west side. I hope that some people from Newman will be able to attend. Just real briefly on the Oristemba Flood Control Project, the ongoing project now for the last 12 years, and $6 million later. I did go up to Sacramento with our Public Works Director and CEO staff, and that project is actually moving forward. The meeting I went to, and I know you've been up since then, that was a real good meeting, and everything was on the table. The project was explained, and it is moving forward. It's in the planning stages, but I think it's in the final stages of planning right now. There was no objections at all to the project with the current design. And the Nature Conservatory was there, Fish and Game, Fish and Wildlife, Water Resources Board, and the Corps of Engineers. And we were there for 3 hours going over this project. And there was no opposition to it. It's the farthest we've ever come. No sycamore tree problem, no kit fox, no frogs, no nothing. And the project, where we're headed with this is the CCID canal levee on the west side, the levee along the farm load, replacement of the railroad trestle, and restoration of the creek. And it's the only thing that they're of course they have to have something else to study because they haven't run out of money yet, so they're studying whether or not the levee along the CCID canal should be the actual bank of the canal, which we think is the best, or over about 60 feet have a separate levee. And there was some concern by the Corps of Engineers that if there was a boil or something, we wouldn't be able to get on it. But as we tried to tell them that the floods they're like a flash flood, and it's not a levee along a river that has to hold water back at a high level for weeks at a time. This is just a few days at a time till the water drains off. But they are studying that, and they also want core samples taken of the soil and what the soil's like. So it'd be another $50,000 more for that in a few more months. But the project is moving forward. The price tag for this project is about $42 million. The good part of that is that the feds, that they approve this, will probably be in for about $27 million, 65% of the project, leaving about $15 million left over. And the really good news is that the Water Resources Board has funding to pay probably, and they like the project, about $9 to $10 million, which was a surprise to me that they had that kind of money. Of course, it's our money anyway, but they've got it. They've got it, and they're willing to throw it in this project. So if you take 9, 10 million, 27 million from the feds, you're looking at only not that only, I mean the way the government is. I don't want to minimize how much this is, but it's $5 or $6 million, which is a whole lot less than 42 million. Still a lot of money. That will have to be a local match, but $5 or $6 million is a lot easier to bond and come up with a flood control district than it was when I thought it was going to be about 17 million about a month or two ago. So this cuts everybody's costs way down. I believe that's a reasonable thing that could probably be acceptable to the people of the area, and it's a good project. The restoration of the railroad trestle alone is going to solve a good part of the problems. The creek will be have an increased flow from about 2,000 second feet to about 4,000, 4,500. That alone, those two things will take care of 90% of the flood problem, and then the levee along the CCID canal will take care of everything for 200-year flood. So it is finally moving forward without any problems. But whether or not there has to be a separate levee next to the CCID canal, which would require some land acquisition, and we've got to have a no man's land for 60 feet. I really don't think that's the best way to go, but that's a possibility where it could go. Or it could go to the original concept of just making the CCID canal levee on the west side higher and wider. But anyway, it's moving along, so
Jim, I looked at Michael because Michael Gardner and myself, along with Matt and David and Earl Perez, met with DWR as well as the Corps last week in Sacramento, and I remembered being asked about that number, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael or Garner, DWR is not willing to be a partner with us.
they don't want to be the lead agency.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's correct. They're willing to take the subservient role. If
Right.
we're the lead agency, they don't want the responsibility of it.
and I didn't hear any monetary issues come out of their mouth.
No, we did at that meeting, that they liked the project, and
They liked the project.
they had the money.
Yeah, they like the project, and they're also concerned about the boils, because the Corps and DWR were going back and forth about some of the work's been done. I think we're going to supply them with some of the Corps samples, Garner, if I remember right. So we're kind of on that, but I still think you're right. We've made huge strides. But
Just having the nature conservatory and
Yeah.
the fish and game
Yeah.
there and not say anything in opposition is the farthest we've ever
They need to
come.
study it a little bit more.
Well, they are.
But I
This
don't
will
know.
be the most studied project in the county. by the
It
time
is,
it's done.
and we are making huge strides. And I don't know, Michael, if you want to chime in or Garner from what came out of our meeting with DWR and the Corps. I think we're all somewhat on the same page. But I don't know. I came away with DWR kind of feeling like we're willing to kind of backdoor a little bit, be some help, but in no way do we want our name anywhere near the front page.
Yeah, they do not want to be the lead agency,
Yeah.
but they do have the money to put into it,
Yeah.
and they expressed that this project they were fine with, and they were looking at $9-10 million. So that was a surprise to me because I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
So, but they do not want to be the lead agency. In fact, the county really doesn't either. So that would leave really doesn't even need to be the city. What it really should be is a flood control district being formed, taking the one that you have now, which is a good framework, expanding it over to the city of Newman and using that as the lead agency. That would probably be the ideal situation.
Yeah.
But things are going well. After $6 million in 12 years, I think we finally have some progress. So
Yeah, we are much
finally,
closer.
Someday before I go into the nursing home, we should have that project finally done.
Yes, he will be.
So
Okay.
anyway, remember our Healthy Choices breakfast February 18th. and
Thank
hope
you,
to
Jim.
See you there.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
7:30 at night? Is it Saturday?
It's no, it's what day? Thursday. Yeah, next Thursday, the 18th. Okay, items from staff. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to just, again, thank Supervisor DiMartini for all his effort on this. He's really kept this on the front burner for the county's perspective, and they've pushed this a long way. And as much as we see the light at the end of the tunnel, there's still major hurdles that have to be cleared, and financing this project is a big undertaking for all of us locals. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, and we'll continue to try to put together a financing plan now and bring that to the council and the flood control district and figure out how to get that going. So at our next meeting, there'll be a request by the school district. They're hoping to partner with us on their new multipurpose room and their play field at the new elementary as they begin to move forward with that. Our original MOU for joint use facilities even predates our mayor. I mean, it's way back in 1978. So we're probably going to need to draft a new one. I think it's about time. So I think 32 years is about the usefulness of that. So I don't know if we'll bring the school district request be forward, and then I don't know if we'll have time to get the new MOU or not, but if not, that'll be coming shortly as well. to play into that, on February 16th, it's a Tuesday, because Monday's a holiday, we will have 2-on-2 with the school district. On this Thursday, which is February 11th, our Recreation Commission will be meeting. They will be hearing a presentation by the baseball board about some improvements they would like to do to Metairie Field, do some painting. Sounds like they want to do the painting and keep it consistent with the theme that's being used at the high school, which is an adjacent facility. So our Recreation Commission will be reviewing that. And then also the presentation by the Newman Youth Sports Alliance, the one that they did for you. They will be making that presentation to our Rec Commission on this Thursday as well. Just a reminder, the NIMS executive course is this Thursday from 1 to 5 in Modesto at 3705 Oakdale Road, and that's for the council. I'm very jealous. Yours is only 4 hours. Mine's 40 hours. Yeah, 5 different days. How fun. And then again, just closing up, this Friday, the 12th, is a furlough day for the city due to economic conditions. And Monday, it's President's Day, so there'll be from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, City Hall will be closed. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have for me.
Questions of Michael? Okay, I'll move on to staff. Anyone like to jump up first? Garner?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few small things to discuss with you a little bit. We have seen a rash of graffiti. We were holding our breath, hoping that that wasn't going to happen, the chief and I, but we have, I don't know how to say there's separate instances, but there was 26 monikers that were left across the city that my crew spent approximately 60 man-hours removing. We did get on those within 24 hours of staff time, within 24 hours of our duty time to remove those. The PD's been very helpful in helping us to hopefully catch these people. But it is very taxing on our limited resources. Obviously, with the budget cuts that we're currently going through with the furloughs and with potential ones coming in the near future, these are very taxing. When we spend 60 hours of our staff time responding to these graffiti incidents, it takes away from anything we can do as far as maintaining our city. If we could hopefully get a handle on this, it would be nice. We did have a nice lull during the holidays, but we're facing that again. Second thing is, my staff is doing what they can to reduce it, what the city manager's talking about with our purchases regarding needs or wants. A classic example was today, we had an incident where one of our storm drain lift stations went down with the recent rains we just had, and the ditch was filling up over there on Hills Ferry, or on Sherman Parkway. The staff went out there, instead of calling in a service call, costing us in a neighborhood of $75 to $150 an hour, they went out there, troubleshoot, made a quick call to an electrician. We were able to get that one fixed for free by just running to Stockton to pick the part up. We conned them into donating the part, since it was a part that should not have went out. And the lift station is only 5 years old, so we got that fixed for free. And it just cost us a fuel to get that repaired. And we're taking those types of measures to do what we can to reduce our impacts. Plaza project, City Manager touched on that briefly. Right now we're doing is going through our last QA, QC on the specifications. The money has very, very tight requirements regarding what we do, so that we make sure we get reimbursed for our costs regarding the plaza on the grant funding that we have. So we have to make sure that we meet all of the ERA-funded requirements regarding the bidding process, procedures. So it may seem as if I'm dragging my feet a little bit going out to bid. I am. I want to make sure that we cross every T and dot every I, so we can get our funds on that project. FHWA and Caltrans are very long process to deal with as it is. We will be making payments to the contractor, and we're looking at 60 to 90 days to get reimbursed in the arrears on this project. So I want to make sure we're going to get those funds. I don't want to be putting the city at any risk. So I am taking my time. The consultant is taking their time. I have a consultant looking at the contracts one more time, and I'm constantly sending emails up to Caltrans ensuring that we're meeting their requirements. So, but that project is moving forward. Our goal is to have this substantially completed prior to the celebration of the Downtown Festival and the holidays and Christmas time. It may not be accepted by you, but it will be usable by then is our goal. We're looking at possibly bidding that project, and like the manager said, about 30 days from now. It'd be a long process on the bidding, unfortunately. They have a minimum of 30 to 45 days that we have to bid the project. We have to have pre-bid conferences, we have to do certain notifications, and we have to get certain information back from the prospective contractors as well. So that is a lengthy process, but we will get through it. With that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Questions, Garner? Comments?
Thank
Garner,
you.
just
Sure.
a little bit of graffiti I noticed on the sound wall out on Fig Lane, just south of Jensen.
Is that public
That-
or private?
I guess, I don't know, is that wall? Is that?
We'll look into it.
Yeah, and I was just going to comment, I happen to see the exact same color scheme and design and artistic work on the building at Service and Crow's Landing Road. I happen to know same color, same design, and everything.
Making the rounds.
Yeah.
We will send our staff out there first thing in the morning. We'll take our photos of it and we'll get with PD, and one way or another, whether it's public or private, we'll handle it.
Yeah, it's bright fuchsia.
Thank you.
Thanks. Chief?
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor. Follow up on the Public Works Director's comments. We have had a rash of graffiti. We have fortunate for a number of months, sort of rode a nice wave there, but at this point we can't tell if they're connected. As he noted, there are a number of what we refer to as monikers, signatures, names, whatever you want to call them, and it's pretty much sporadic. It's not a specific area of the city. It's all over the place, private property, city property. We are following up on some leads, but one of the things we want to get out there to our residents is most of these monikers are less than 20 seconds, if that. It takes them to sign their name. They're considering this is what they do, so they're experts at what they do. The odds of a police officer driving by at that exact moment when they're doing that are pretty low. The odds of a resident driving by, much more residents out driving around than police officers, is much higher. Again, it's not as good, or the odds aren't very good, but better than an officer. So keep your eyes open to folks watching us at home, the audience here. You see young people, teenagers, out after hours, hovering around bushes, walls, no apparent purpose, carrying a backpack at night. Those are some of the common things to look for. We'd rather you err on the side of caution. Call us. Let us know where they're at. Let us roll into the area, and let's see if there are guys. Also, for the people that work in stores, if you're a store clerk, you're a teacher, they don't just write it on walls. It's on their hands. It's on their binders. It's on their back of their hats. It's on their clothing. They open their wallet. It's written all over their wallets. That's their signature. So be aware. And if you're working in a store and the kid opens his wallet, that looks like graffiti. Call us. Let us come and have a little conversation with that person. You're a teacher. You see it on their binders. All those types of things. We need people's help. There is rewards available for graffiti through Crime Stoppers. Call the city. If you have any information, or your children, or you know someone, whatever it may be, please call us. We're looking for help on those. A couple of other things to note: in regards to our administrative fines for traffic violations. If you haven't already seen it, there has been some news coverage over the last week in the Sacramento stations that the state has learned of
No.
some cities that are
No.
doing this, and
Shame on them.
more than likely, two of them are significant, large cities. So obviously, that's going to impact the state. The city of Oakland apparently has been doing it in Long Beach. It's got the state senator's attention out of Long Beach, and she's already introduced a bill, SB 949, that she's trying to stop the cities from doing that. So we'll be watching and monitoring that. Obviously, nothing's changed at this point. We're still within the law. No one's at this point suggesting that we're operating outside the law, only that they want to close that opportunity for us. So we'll be monitoring that. The city manager may have probably more report on that. Maybe the next meeting we should have some. We'll be talking with our senator as well. But there's a lot out there on the. If you just type in that, you'll see a lot of. It's really picked up on the AP and a lot of news articles and papers throughout the state. And there will be an article, I believe, in tomorrow's Modesto Bee as well. They've contacted us as well as the city of Riverbank. Of course, we gave them Tom's name. Anyway.
Oh, is that who called? I forgot to call back.
Is that it?
Let's see, a couple of updates on bar, nightclub, restaurants. It appears that the St. George has closed, and if you didn't hear from the last Planning Commission meeting, Illusions, formerly known as Marty's, is now open. And that's just for your information. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Questions of the chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Mayor, tonight, as consistent with our previous meetings, tonight Stephanie Ocasio, our assistant planner, will do a PowerPoint presentation on 2009 and the goals of 2010.
Great.
Good evening again. Oh, thank you. Before you is the Community Development Department's 2009 annual report. Department overview. The department provides planning, zoning, economic, population, housing, circulation, and land use information. We provide public service, technical, and professional support to residents, property owners, businesses, and policymakers, and also provide grant writing and management services and timely and efficient administration of city laws and policies. That's just a general overview of what community development is. In 2009, the department had 8 planning commission meetings. Those consisted of 6 conditional use permits, 1 general plan amendment, 1 site plan review, and 1 variance. An annexation and pre-zone application have been received. However, they're still in the initial planning stages, so it'll be a while before that comes to any policy board. We held 7 architectural review committee meetings that had 12 projects under review and 1 informational item. Oh, did I get ahead of myself? No, I'm okay. The department reviewed 97 business licenses and approved 13 home occupation licenses. Completed the Department of Finance Housing Unit Survey, the school district's development survey. Through our various applications, we have to hold public hearings. Through those public hearings, we have notified 219 property owners and published 32 public notices. The department also completed the census boundary and annexation survey, which is an annual update to let them know if we added any land to the city. The department also manages the city's geographical information system, GIS. Last year, 16 maps were created. Those maps varied in use for council reports, research, grant research, planning commission reports, things of that sort. The software also allows us to create distribution lists. So instead of the old way where I'd actually have to pull out the APN book, get the parcel, draw a circle with the compass according to scale, I can actually click on it, hit a buffer, it pulls up everything, and spits it out in an Excel sheet. So that saves a lot of time. We also updated or kept our zoning map up to date. We had an older map, I believe, from 1994. I inputted everything, have different layers for each zone. Each layer actually has parcel information, some ownership information. However, it's kind of out of date because we don't connect with the county all the time. So we try to do that as soon as we can, actually. We prepared a draft rezoning map. The general plan was adopted in 2007. We are currently finishing up the housing element, which is a part of the general plan. Once that's adopted, we will be coming back to the council for a citywide rezoning in conformance with that general plan. And that map has already been prepared, to get ready for that project. Additionally, the GIS system also allowed us to update the city street sweeping map and schedule, which is on our website. Another facet of the department is grants and grant management. Last year, the department managed and administered the community development block grants, also known as CDBG. I had to go by fiscal year because it's kind of hard to break it down by calendar year, so I included 08, 09, and 9-10. In 08, 09, we managed approximately $670,604,000, and in 9-10, $502,246,000. The department also worked on the submission of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant, also known as EECBG. The official application was submitted in January. However, the department had been working on that for a number of months at the end of 09. A letter of support was also submitted for an additional grant through EECBG known as Greening Main Street. If we were to get this grant, it'll offer incentives and funding for downtown businesses to do retrofits, energy efficient kind of activities, things of that sort. So it'll help our downtown. The next grant source is the Home Investment Partnerships Program. In 0809, we managed $333,000 in project funding, of which 233,000 were dedicated to the Newman Family Apartments project, which is a 68-unit income-eligible project that will be located at 751 Driscoll Avenue near the car wash. Currently, we are managing $257,000 in project funding, and the council recently approved a first-time homebuyers program in which those funds will be utilized for that. Continuing on with grants, the city was allocated $1,002,000 in neighborhood stabilization program funds. 6 properties have been purchased so far with those funds, and they will be sold to income-eligible folks. The city also has a 2002 Resources Bond Act per capita program grant in the amount of $220,000 for park improvements. We're gonna retouch that on a later slide, but we're planning on using those funds within the next year. The city also has a Roberti Zeeberg Harris grant, which was originally awarded in 2001. In 08, the city was successful in relocating that grant to the Hill Park site. So we have been using those $300,000 for the Hill Park improvements. Also, last year we were applied and awarded the Safe Routes to Schools grant in the amount of $225,000. We were the only city in Stanislaus County to be awarded with that grant. On to building department. In 2009, we had 6 new residential permits, 14 additions, 12 commercial additions, and 201 miscellaneous permits, and that's, random improvements, zoning permits, things of that nature, for a total permit issuance count of 233. In 2009, we completed a number of projects. Every year, because we received home funding in the past for the West Side Village Senior Apartments and Valley Manor Apartments, we have to do something called compliance monitoring. It's a pretty extensive process that involves file review and even site inspections. I have to inspect inside of apartments, the grounds, the offices. I actually have to do a visit, check their files on hand, have to go through whoever their management group is, whether it's a housing authority or a private firm, and make sure that they're charging the right amount of rents. Keeping things, up to standard, things of that sort. And we completed those 2 last year, and we'll be doing so next month, because February is the time where we do that. We're in February, March. The CDBG project list was approved. The CAPER was approved. We completed a regulatory agreement with the Valley Oaks Apartments to create 3 income-eligible units. As the council probably remembers, they did a density bonus, and for the addition of 5 units, they agreed to make 3 of those income eligible as in return. The department also completed the COOP plan for the administrative departments, which consisted of City Hall and Recreation. The department also completed review and comment of the Newman Family Apartments tax credit application. Anytime a group has to apply for the tax credits, the local agency has to essentially review it for accuracy and approve it, and we did that. Last year, the dog park site was selected and the amenities were approved by council. The department also established curb painting standards. A lot of folks would come into City Hall and ask, hey, are we allowed to paint addresses on curbs? So we took the initiative to do some research and set up a uniform standard so that way it's consistent throughout the city if people want to go out there and paint that as a fundraiser. We also established a city internship program. That was also in concurrence with Mike. We both want to get interns in, get them experience. It teaches them a lot of skills. I know when I was in college, a lot of people wanted to get internship programs, so we put together an application packet, a questionnaire, a setup, so that way they can actually fill out paperwork and be interns for various departments. The department oversaw the capital facility fees update, RFP, and consultant hiring process. That update is actually at the administrative draft stage. Last year, the department removed the city facility rental fees from the code. We did an ordinance amendment, and now those fees are set by resolution instead of having outdated fees in the municipal code. The storage container ordinance was approved. The planning application fees were updated. They hadn't been updated, I believe, since 1989, so those were in major need of an update. Also updated the housing element. However, HUD had some last-minute comments, so that will be coming back to you for some last-minute tweaks. And also, with Mike, we worked on the West Side CD driving tour, which was a big success. In 2009, the department did attend various trainings and represented the city in different capacities. Attended the annual land use, real estate, and environmental law update. Went to COOP training, which is required to complete the COOP plan. Attended a code enforcement workshop. Attended a webinar, which is like the next big thing now, regarding the National Community Stabilization Trust. Attended 5 Caltrans federal aid trainings, which were very informative. Represent the city in the CDBG consortia, the NSP sub-consortia of that. It's the same thing, but it's a different group. Also represented the Home Consortia. Acted as representative at some of the Travel and Tourism Roundtable meetings, the SB 375 Ad Hoc Committee, and participated at one of the OHS senior interview panels. As everyone knows, planners have to do a lot of environmentals for their land use projects. Last year, we did 11 CEQA exemptions on file, completed 2 initial studies, and filed 1 notice of exemption. You're not required to file notice of exemption for every exemption, but usually if it's a larger project or a more complicated project, a notice of exemption will actually shorten your protest period. So oftentimes that's a choice that an agency makes to do that. NEPA is the national version of CEQA. 2 level environmental review determinations were completed, 2 statutory worksheets were completed, and 2 FONSIs were completed, which is required to get, that's a long word. You have to do a FONSI in order to get federal funding, which is their version of an environmental review. Goals for 2010. Complete the citywide rezoning in accordance with the general plan. As stated earlier, that is pending the housing element. Continue to apply for grants for city projects as they become available, focusing on the aquatic center, community parks, and infrastructure improvements. Establish garbage enclosure standards for commercial multifamily development projects. This came to my attention recently with the Newman Family Apartments project, that they were asking us for standards, and up to this time we would go on a project by project basis. And this way we can kind of have a minimum set of parameters, and they can craft that for their project aesthetically, but at least we have a set of standards for that. Also, transition the department into paperless document storage. We use a scanner a lot, but we'd like to decrease paper use and continue to utilize, digital means of document storage. The department plans to evaluate existing park facilities for the utilization of the 2002 per capita program grant. That is for park improvements, so we are going to be analyzing all of the city's park facilities and see which ones maybe need some work or some updates and use those funds for that. Also, review the detached accessory building standards and regulations. There's been, some discussion about detached, attached, setbacks, things of that sort. So we're going to take a good look at that and see what makes the best sense for the community and bring that to the council. Have some project images for you. Some of these may look familiar because I know that our Public Works Director also presented some of them. We have the Fresno T Street project, which was CDBG funded. That was a before. I don't know if you all can see it, but it was in pretty bad shape, flooding, all broken up. Now it's all pretty. The sewer replacement project, I didn't have a before picture because I couldn't take pictures underground, but that's the after picture that shows that they replaced that. And the Pioneer Park Phase 2, which is a really, it's so nice. People are really happy about this project. Before, you can see that just that shade structure was in such bad shape, and now we have a really nice one. Next one would be the Newman Family Apartments project. That's the 68 units. That is the site plan for that. These are 2 actual homes that we've purchased with the NSP program. This is out in Sherman Ranch, and this is on Brookhaven, I believe. This is the Hill Park site plan that we're utilizing the Roberti Zeeberg Harris grant on. And this is the site plan for the dog park that the council approved last year. And in closing, just a nice little quote. The Community Development Department works to improve the interests of the community and its residents by creating more convenient, equitable, healthful, efficient, and attractive places for present and future generations. I am happy to answer any questions.
That's a great report, Stephanie. I didn't keep track on their initial phase when you were mentioning all the different grants and funding that the city has been able to receive on due to your hard work and diligence. How much money did, because I didn't keep track.
A little over $3 million.
That's incredible. I mean, for a city our size, and your tenacity is really appreciated, and it's quite impressive. For a city our size to acquire that kind of money, and we do have a lot going on a lot going on in our city. So, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Comments? Thank you, Steph.
Mayor, if I may add just a second, on the grant funding and all the hard work she's done over there, a lot of that, when I talked about this in our annual mid-year budget, you know, there's administrative money as part of that. I mean, just the $1 million NSP grant, I believe, is bringing in $45,000 to the city, which will help augment her salary. So those are the little things that as your staff continue to work for, and how we're trying to reduce the general fund. So she is more than well paid for her position this year.
Great job, Steph.
Thank you.
Great job. Okay. Any other staff? Garden, you have anything else you want to toss up? Everybody's good? Okay, we'll move on to council member comments. Ted.
I just, again, the graffiti, like to thank the Public Works again. I was out walking one morning. I'd missed it because of lovely rain for a while, and I walked by my little section over there at Ranchwood, and here's that lousy graffiti. And boy, I tell you, it just bugs me. But next day, it's gone. You guys are unbelievable getting that done, so thank you very, very much. That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Roberta?
I don't have anything.
Nick?
Nothing tonight.
Bob?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment about the Historical Society. Thank you for staying. So often groups come in and they get what they want and then they walk out. And then we have to look at staff, you know. So it's good to see your smiling faces. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you to the city council who's worked with us very much. We're very happy to work with you.
Thank you so much.
Bob, they're waiting for the seasoned bus.
But I want a key to that outhouse.
Seasoned. Yeah.
That's all I have.
That's.
Just a couple items and just to kind of reiterate, our Public Works Director, Garn Reynolds, and City Manager, and myself, did travel to Sacramento last week and met with the Corps and DWR, and as Supervisor DeMartini said, it's been a long time, but it seems like in the last few months we've made some huge strides, and we're getting closer. And so I think as long as we try to keep our nose to the grind, we'll eventually get that project done before we're all dead or flooded.
Another point, if I may.
Sure.
For your information, that outhouse is a two-holer. There's a boys and a girls, and there is a difference. And I'm not gonna say what it was.
That's TMI there, Tom.
Too much information.
It's oversharing.
The other thing is, Councilman Martina and myself, we were at the Blue and Gold dinner held by the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts. Chief, your $10 was donated. You didn't buy anything because things were starting at $10, $15. So I just gave them your money. Yeah, it was.
You said those cakes were selling for 20.
Yeah, well, I bought one for 60. Somebody kept bidding me up. So at any rate, so that was fun. And Councilman Martin was there with his grandchildren, and they were able to raise $800. So it was good. It was a lot of fun. And one of the other thing is I received a letter from Merced County from Mayor Spriggs and Supervisor Pedrozo. They're making a heavy push to try to get the heavy maintenance facility located in Merced County as opposed to Fresno County. Fresno's making a huge run. Mayor Ashley Swearingen is trying to pull out all the stops. And they're trying to get that heavy maintenance facility located in Fresno, whereas Merced County feels that they're the better location, and they have a preferred site located near Castle Air Force Base. They're talking about it's going to employ initially about 1,500 people with a potential of 3,000 jobs being generated. And California is due to receive a little over $2 billion out of the $8 billion that the president has allocated in stimulus funding to the high-speed rail development. So, at any rate, Merced County is asking this council if we would be so inclined to, either in the form of a letter or a resolution, help support and promote Merced County as the best location of placing a high-speed rail, heavy maintenance facility in Merced County. Basically, I guess it would handle all the heavy-duty work for the high-speed rail. So if there's council concurrence, I'd like to give this letter to the city manager, have him draft a letter and/or a resolution and/or both, I guess.
I so concur.
Everybody good with that?
I agree.
Okay, so I'll get to the city manager and we'll send off a letter supporting Merced County in their endeavors. Okay, seeing there's no other information or agenda items, we'll adjourn for the night. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Are you gonna be